For the last decade or so, I have been genuinely trying to figure Kanye out. I've been trying to look at intentions, motives, what's the reason behind he does the things that he does. At first it was because he was a misunderstood genius. That's why he moved through life the way that he did. And then it kind of transitioned and morphed into this, well, it looks like he's looking to be controversial, but he's still got a point to make. I am now at the point where I've realized that Kanye is nothing more than an attention whore. Simple as that. Kanye is out for attention. What Kanye values more than Kanye West himself is Kanye West getting attention. That's all the entire game is about. And, there is a level of nuance to this. I guess there's a complexity when it comes to his own, let's say, childhood trauma or, his own programming conditioning. We all know about his mama and how impactful she was in his life. We can never negate from that. And the fact that when she passed away, something in him changed. Now, did something change? I don't think it actually changed. I believe what happened was we got to see what was behind that protective shield. His mother was sort of like a sedative. She was sort of like, some sort of chemical dependency that he had. And he relied upon her opinion to kind of keep him at bay. After she was gone, not only was there the grieving aspect, but we then saw the aspects of Kanye that he had never actually worked on. And at the core of it was about being seen. I believe that, he was content with the audience being his mother and then the crowd and then, the circus per se, or those spectators in the gladiators arena. To all of a sudden there is no mama. So all you're going for is the spectator. And there is no limit to what this dude will do in order to get that attention. Now, it is no surprise to anybody who has been alive for the last 2 years that Ye is off his damn rockers. He has completely lost it, and he is going to places that nobody, and I mean nobody, there are people who have been more than canceled, who have been arrested, who have been completely disseminated, gone, never to be seen again in the public eye, who have done less than Kanye has done or said less than Kanye has said, and yet still here he is. But I really want to just give some insight into this archetype, this character of an individual who I believe, narcissism is one way to explain it, I guess you would say, right? There are the overt narcissistic tendencies, but I believe there's also a much darker, the dark triad sort of psychosociopathy that's going on here. And when he came out with his last wife, who is now a previous wife, right? His second ex-wife, and we started seeing how much she was being exposed to the world, quite literally, in the most literal sense of the word exposed, literally booty butts naked in front of the media, in front of the public, in front of us, in front of children. At that moment, I realized, this is a man who not only cares so much for attention, but what that attention means. To him, attention is power. And before he could get that through talent, through gifting, through skill, through ability, then the times caught up. And because he no longer devoted himself to this one thing, which once got him all the attention in the world, and I believe this is my own personal observation, but also because of social media, etc., the world is saturated with things that get your attention. Kanye could no longer be that spectacle without him doing something completely outrageous. The world would soon forget, even great music can be overlooked in this day and age. Even great artists can be overlooked in this day and age. Because we just have stories that are, fluctuating on a daily moment basis. To hell with the day. In a single day, you might have 100 different stories that become viral in essence. And so that, I believe, was a disturbance to his force. And so he could not necessarily get that fix that he wanted. And that's why we see the Kanye, basically celebrating the little mustache man. And yet there's still individuals out there talking about, but he made graduation though, still looking to defend him. So there's a clip I wanted to kind of spotlight a few weeks back, but I thought that now was a perfect timing for it. It's a video featuring none other than Amber Rose, creator of the Slut Walk. And she's basically breaking down what it was like to be in a relationship with him and basically some of the things that Kanye was really into or the way that he thought. And then as we go through this, I'm going to give my little 2 cents. If you want to watch the video by itself, click the link below. You can probably even watch the entire episode on Club Shay Shay, but I just wanted to kind of pinpoint this one right here. So let's get into it. Hopefully, man, the image here is revealing. I'll just say that. Y'all see it. Y'all see it for yourselves. So yeah, let's get into it. What you got to say, Amber?
Kanye's for sure dressing her like that. Yeah, he did the same thing to me and Kim. This is who he is.
What is it about that he wants the world to know? Look at my woman. We can see.
He wants other men to want his woman. That's what he's into. He likes that.
Now, most fellas out there, regular dudes, normal guys, sane guys, the last thing you want in the world is somebody to be objectifying or sexualizing your girl. The last thing you want is a dude gawking at your girl. Just imagine having a mentality where that's what you're actually going for. That is a sick, deranged mentality. But again, when you view things from the perspective of this is a man who finds power through attention, through being seen. It doesn't matter if it's negative or positive attention. Both are equally weighed. He will do anything in order to essentially get people to literally look, in this context, in the most literal sense, other men to see me as a somebody by basically, weaponizing this woman's goodies and goodie bag.
He likes that men are like drooling over his woman. That's what he's into.
I like to think anybody that I'm with, that somebody wants her. Mm-hmm. If don't nobody want her but me, I need to reassess I need to reassess what I'm doing.
Right.
But to really man, I want.
Nah, bruh's speechless right there. He was trying to create some sort of resonance, some sort of understanding. That was me for a very long time. Surely, okay, but no, it must be the fact that, okay, mental illness. It's got to be the it's got to be the bipolar. But even with bipolar, there are folks with the most severe forms of bipolar who have not gone down the psychotic type of breaks that Ye has gone down within the last 3 to 5 years. I don't believe bipolar turns you into, a vile human being who is essentially insulting somebody's kids and calling them, if you know, you're not the type of individual who is genuinely that anti-Semitic or anti-anybody. And no, it's not because I am a voice and a pundit for the little hat people. No, it's the fact that there is a difference between genuine criticism of Israel and, straight up anti-Semitism. Straight up, I'm the little mustache man and he was a great guy. There is a difference between wearing a KKK outfit in public, which y'all will see soon. DJ Academics has a very interesting interview coming out, and I am pretty sure y'all will all be interested to see exactly what Ye will be wearing at this interview. But I digress. Let's just continue.
Yeah, he wants all his friends to want his girlfriend. He wants everybody that when you walk in a room, that his girlfriend or wife is the most desirable in the room.
She the baddest bee in the room.
That's what he likes, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you could say there's a lot of these narcissists within the music. I mean, there's in everyday life, but within the music industry, we see a lot of this narcissism throughout, quote unquote, entertainment, etc. Right? Dudes walking in there with a chick on their arm like she is some sort of, spectacle, and vice versa. There's a lot of women walking around. There's a reason why the superficiality in a lot of these quote unquote modern relationships is the way it is. People are seeing each other's commodities as products. This person on my arm here, they're a something, not a somebody, right? I want a man who is, 6 foot, 6 pack, 6 figures, 6 this, 6 that. The reason for that is because they are a symbol of something. I get to show the world that I won. The old trophy wives. Now it's trophy husbands and boyfriends and trophy baby daddies and baby mamas. Look what I got. Look what I secured, as opposed to actually being in relationship with them. I don't believe that Kanye has ever had a real relationship before. I don't, even though he had a wife and there might have been moments of, love, maybe with his children, his daughters. But even that, even with his kids, when it's a true narcissist is still going to be using those kids for some sort of narcissistic supply. And that's why you can have a Kanye using his daughter, Northie, who sees him as her God, like he is everything to her. He can use her for a song like Free Diddy. That's how that works, right? A man can be that gone, that twisted, that given over to all I need is supply. I just want the supply. I don't care where it comes from. I need it. And I've heard personal stories Somebody very, very, very close to me has actually worked in a place where Ye used to basically do business with them, right? It was a designer, I'll just put it that way. And, you know, she was telling me how when Ye would come in the office, you could see the energy, the sporadicness, whatever. Sometimes he's walking around barefoot or, hasn't bathed for 3-4 days. The person who was his quote unquote handler at that time, basically they were getting phone calls at midnight, etc. Where are you? Please don't leave me. The guy's with his family. Yeah, he doesn't give a damn. He needs somebody there. He needs somebody to feed them, this constant supply. Now, I'm not getting into this in order to just, like it's just a Kanye rant for Kanye's sake, but I believe this is something we can all learn from, whether it's on the side of dealing with individuals or the way we move through life. Because though you may not be, narcissistically entrenched, though you may not be dealing with the same level of trauma that's being projected, we all have to check ourselves as far as where we're actually coming from. I see myself sometimes, I'm like, are you doing this thing for attention? Are you looking to be seen or heard by others? Are you not validating yourself? Therefore, you're seeking out external validation. As a boy turning into a man, I recognize that I was looking for a lot of female validation. That's why I always, I wanted to conquer as many. I wanted to lay up with as many chicks as possible because I saw that as what validated me as a man. Not my character, not my morals, not my values, not integrity, honor. None of those things mattered. What mattered most was to lay up with as many chicks and to essentially have as many people know about that as possible. That's what made me the man, to peacock and project myself as something to the world, as opposed to having a certainty within myself. And if I don't put that in check, or if I never put that in check, who's to say I wouldn't become exactly this? And Ye speaks of, his own addiction to sexuality. He talks about that very frequently, how at the young age of whatever it was, 5 or 8 years old, when he found his Pops magazine, his whole entire life changed and everything in his life became about that. So his fixation became about exactly what you're seeing here. If you look throughout his every single album, whether it's imagery or whether it's, the messaging was to do with this right here. So we're going to let Homegirl continue.
Mm-hmm.
And you dress like that because that's what he wanted. You want to please your man.
I was young, and I'm going to tell Kanye no. Like, when I'm that young, it's like, okay, you're buying me this stuff.
Right.
I do look pretty and cool, but Shannon, now, if you look at old pictures of me when I'm dating Kanye, mm-hmm. but I'm out by myself, mm-hmm. I have all his clothes on.
Yeah.
I have baggy jeans on, mm-hmm. t-shirt, big ass jacket. I raided his closet. Mm-hmm. When he wasn't home, I would wear all his stuff because I used to hate to dress like a whore. Basically. I used to hate it. So I used to rebel when he wasn't home, and I would.
And I hear exactly what all of y'all saying, and I'm thinking the same thing. You hated how he was dressing you, but girl, it looks like not a lot has changed. I'm just saying, I know you've matured out of certain phases and you've stopped having the SLUT walks and all that sort of nonsense, the feminist propaganda that you were perpetuating and bringing girls into that hookup culture and, pushing it as this empowerment when really it was creating greater trauma. I know you are a part of that, and there's, aspects of you that have, of course, matured out of it, but this is not the best representation. I'm just saying. Maybe even just the dress by itself, but the dress got to have the artistic tatas on it. You know what I mean? This ain't me, use body shape. No, this is none of that. It's just pure observation. Now, it's a step further than this, a lot better than whatever this was. It's a lot better than whatever this was. But, if you hated it that much, I'm just saying.
Go in his closet.
So let me ask you this. Ideally, how does Amber Rose like to dress? Is the occasion appropriate? So if I'm going to the Grammys or I'm going to someplace else, I'm going to dress appropriate. But when I'm just hanging out with my girls, I'm saying you're not wearing all that stuff.
No, I'm in sweatpants.
Okay.
And I'm in a sweatsuit, usually with some Jordans on.
Okay.
Maybe a little dad hat or something. Mm-hmm. I'm very casual.
Would you? I don't think you had. You did. I think you did have one of those see-through dresses that Kanye put his wife in at one point in time.
Yes, I did.
Amber.
I cried.
Really?
Yes, I did. I remember crying. I was in like Italy or Paris or something, and I remember crying and arguing with him and being like, I don't want to wear this. I don't want to wear it. You don't understand, it's fashion. Da, da, da. I'm a genius. You know how he is.
And, some people say that, well, it's all a charade. And I'm going to say this, two things can exist at the same time. I do believe he puts on, but I believe that he also believes himself to be this great genius of our time. And he's bought into it. Again, true narcissists, not just us labeling people because we don't like them, right? Everybody's ex is all of a sudden a narcissist. No, I mean, genuine, clinically described narcissist, clinically diagnosed narcissist. These individuals believe in the image that they have of themselves. The grandiosity is something that they're fully bought into as a coping mechanism or whatever it may be, right? So when you see a guy like this, he believes that this is artistry and this is his genius. Look what I've done. But underlying is really about how this brings me attention because this is dehumanized. This doesn't mean anything. This is just a piece of flesh. This human being, right, just becomes a piece of flesh. Ye himself is the one who is seen as the main attraction. Go to the headlines. Who are they talking about? Not this one, really. I mean, this one, she obviously became her own entity, right? But even at this time, it was like, oh, she's with Kanye. And he loved that. He loved to have a sense of domination and then to create you. I made that famous, huh? I made that famous. Why would that matter to the everyday person, to the clinically sane individual? Why would that matter to an individual who is not fully given over to these delusions of grandeur? It wouldn't. You literally would not care. You will never see him with somebody who is at a higher status than himself. It's always one he can mold. I don't know if y'all remember the very early stages when, her closet was starting to get, her fashion sense was, it was something straight out the 2000s, the Paris Hilton-esque times. It was a struggle in fashion. And so some of the stuff may be okay. She became a little more fashion conscious. And again, I'm not defending 1, 2, 3 because they're all grown folks who made their own grown folk decisions. This one, grown folk making grown folk decisions. At the end of the day, they could have said no, no, no. But if you don't deal with your own trauma, if you don't deal with whatever's going on in this headspace right here, in this heart space here, you end up with this out to the public. You'll do anything to satisfy. You do anything. This is codependency. Well, a little bit of narcissism itself right here. But this for sure, codependency. You're a lapdog. Kanye West is not somebody to be admired. And, you could say, well, somebody had a history of things that they gave us. Look what they did. Look at these incredible things. Sure. Incredible music made in the past, and maybe even some in the now and in the future. But that doesn't change the character of the individual. I'm not one of these guys who looks to separate the art from the person. The person is their art form. It's like me. Oh, but you got to separate what I do on the camera than what's my... No. This is who I am. This is how I show up. My energy is laced into every single one of these videos. My energy is laced into anything that I create. Kanye, he is built into the fabric of what he's creating. So there are sides that are introspective, etc. But there's also a side that he is allowed to take over that dehumanizes basically everything around him to be nothing more than a service of that ego, service of that aspect of himself, which he sees as, as God, to be worshiped, to be deified, and all others are subject to it. Nobody else is at this level. How dare you? And any of my ideas should be accepted. And anybody who rejects this, well, that person is obviously an enemy. That's how the mind of the genuine sociopath works. That's why I'm not surprised about, the Diddy-like allegations I'm not surprised about the multiple lawsuits of abuse in different forms. I can't be. I would not doubt if he's at the same extent, just in his own version, as the diddler. Because these are the things that he does in public. Just imagine what goes on behind closed doors, right? With the diddler, there were a few things where we would be like, okay, that's sus. And now we're seeing it, obviously, in retrospect. But everybody is a genius in retrospect or in hindsight. Oh, of course, yeah, we always saw it. No, some of us saw some things. But with this dude, it's clear, distinct there. And yet there are people who continue to worship him. That's why I will create a video like this in the first place, to be like, okay, I'm not going to stop you from making a grown folk decision to put your support and endorsement behind somebody, but let's not get it twisted and let's not keep lying to ourselves like this is some sort of genius who is misunderstood. This is a man who is given over to his psychosis, or better off, a man who's given over to his delusions of grandeur, a man who's given over to his narcissism. Because if I put it just on the psychosis element, then, well, there's an excuse. It just, the man is sick. The man's mentally ill. He's going through what he's going through, bipolar, he can't help himself. No, he can help himself, but he's not willing to. He can accept the help, but he's not willing to, because he cares more about preserving this part. And so as far as me and mine, this is coming from a dude who had love for Kanye. I'm talking about, I saw a kindred spirit with this man. I no longer see any part of myself reflected there. And I'm surprised at anybody who does. And for those who still do, I can't mess with you. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Now, if you'd like to stay around, make sure to click that little subscribe button down there. Or you can show some love by going to the description below and clicking on the button titled Buy Me a Coffee. Leave a little something there, or click on the Cash App. Leave a little something here. Till the next time, peace.
I fell in love with the sunshine. I fell in love with the light. I fell in love with the full moon. I fell in love with the night. I can see the light again. I can see the light. You can see the life in him illuminate the night. I know the time is taking. A 3, 6, 5, that's a full rotation. I see you looking up, you know them constellations. Constantly gazing like house of praises, you get to praising.